Hello, Sebastian here from Twin Peaks. In this video, let's take a look at the settings for the profile in the bars themselves. At the top here, we have the option of displaying this on both the left and right side of a bar separately from each other. You can therefore create several settings. Here, as I personally like to see the profile on the right-hand side, I'll start here with the right-hand side. First of all, we have the option of choosing which data should be displayed in the profile. Here we have the choice between off, then we see no profile at all, that's clear. Volume, i.e. the total traded volume per price within the bar, is then shown here as a profile. Delta, also very clear. Where was the largest delta in the bar? Delta with max, i.e. the largest and smallest delta, is simply displayed in color. Delta in percent can be displayed. Only the ask, or only the bid, or also the number of trades, i.e. where were the most trades. It makes sense that most people will set it to volume. We can also filter the whole thing. We can say we only want to see the whole thing within the body, then the rigs are not displayed. Or we only want to see the whole thing within the rigs, then it will not be displayed within the body. With off, it is displayed everywhere. And here too, if we set the whole thing to rig, we also have the option of displaying the whole thing separately here in the top and in the bottom rig. So whether we want to see both, for example, the buy volume or just the sell volume. By default, we have separated the buy and sell volume so that we only see the buy volume at the top and the sell volume at the bottom, because this is the most common use case. Set this to off again and see the volume everywhere accordingly. We can also filter the whole thing. For example, we only want to see volumes from 500. Then we enter 501. Click once in another field. And then we can already see here only where we have a volume of at least 500. Only there, where the whole thing is active, here it starts. And all volumes before are not displayed in color accordingly. So, is also a very useful function for this already only to display prominent volumes. The whole thing again to 0. Then we can see everything again. As you have just seen, another menu item opens for some functions. I do this again. Then I can already see, use total volume. I remove the tick. Then, you can already see the change. Then it really has to be an individual volume on bit or on ask side and not the totaled one. So here, for example, where it would now be 500 added together is not displayed. But here it is, because one of the two volumes has at least 500. That's what this function is for. I would like to see cluster style as volume profile, as volume bar, or as brick so that I can see it completely filled. I'm just taking the filtering out again. Then we'll see. So I would just work with the shading. Some retailers also clearly prefer 2001. And as a volume bar, we then have it starting from the inside so that it simply becomes wider. This is always on profile. We still have the whole thing here as a bar filled or bar outline. So you can also see that we can display the whole like this. Makes it clearer for some. Next, we have the option here to set the color mode either to saturation, as it is now, i.e. the paler ones. Values are correspondingly smaller than the more strongly colored values. Or I could set it to solid. Then it's always 100%. So 100% visible like this. But of course, that makes it much darker, but it makes sense for some applications. And here I can also set how strong the opacity should be. Bad, this here down to 50, then is generally paler. And this is also the maximum opacity that can be specified here. So I have set this to 100. Then the strongest value is also always colored to 100%. I also have the option of activating advanced coloring here. If I switch this on, then we can already see that we have corresponding values here that we can compare with each other. So we can already build a kind of heat map within the footprint, which is also a very exciting function. And you can already see that you have the explanation for the function everywhere here, as soon as you move the mouse over here. So every function has a tooltip in German and in English. I'll deactivate that here again. Then we simply have the three colors here. Once for our buy volume, for our neutral volume, i.e. when bid and ask are the same as here, for example, or for the sell volume, if the sell is larger than the buy volume. Separately, we can now set the text that we want to see here. Currently, the whole thing is set to bid and ask. If I set this to off, I only see the pure colored boxes. I can also display the volume, or of course, the delta. Delta in percent. Also a very exciting approach. Or only the ask, or only the bid, or even the trades. I'll leave this here on by task. And then, of course, we have the opportunity to the whole thing even further, refine. Display filter location, again, exactly the same. Only display those in the body, or only those in the wig. This can also be controlled separately. Here, too, I have the filter option of saying, okay, I only want to see text from 500 onwards. Before that, I'm not interested at all. And here again, the use total volume function, as before. Here above with the coloring, I'll take this out again, so that I can see all the texts. For all texts, also in the other functions, you always have the option, both fonts, sizes, whether the whole should be printed normal or thin or bold. You can adjust completely, just as you would like to see it, and as it also helps you best. We can also set the separator, i.e. the X in this case, separately here, how it should be displayed. So, is very, very versatile. The fact that we can now display the whole thing on the left and right naturally gives us the opportunity to get a lot of information here. For example, if I take my bid and ask on the right-hand side and my delta on the left-hand side, I would now like to see my delta once. Delta as a pure box, and then again the delta down here. Footprint text, I take the delta as pure. And if I enlarge the text accordingly here at the back, then we can already see that we can display all the information here in the way we want, and also have more than one piece of information here again in a footprint. Of course, we can also set the thickness accordingly. The bar, simply hold down the Alt key and then arrow up, arrow down in the Ninjatrader, shifts the width of the bar here. The actual bars, and so I can display the whole thing a little more meaningfully. Here I have virtually the same functions on the left-hand side as on the right-hand side so that I can adjust and customize it completely. This means that I could display the bit on the left, the ask on the right, delta and trades, volume and trades, as it suits me, and also work with different colors. That was also very important to us, that we have full flexibility here to work with it. So much for the profile for now. I am deactivating it here on the left-hand side for now, as I personally only ever use it on the right-hand side. And then we have our basic configuration again. We'll see you again in the next video. Then we'll talk about the imbalances, which we can also set in many different ways here.